Hey guys, it's your girl Antonia. We out here at Amped Up Live. As you can see, we have the Mayor of Melbourne here with us, Mr. Paul Alfrey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are
I'm doing all right. It's
you?
a good day. It's
Yes.
another week going into budget season, but a little stressful, but everything's going pretty good.
Now, your background, you were in law
Mm-hmm.
enforcement and, you've done even Coast Guard.
Yep.
How did you get into public service?
Well, I grew up here in O'Galley, lifetime. I went to Sherwood, I went to Johnson, went to O'Galley, and I lost my father when I was young, and didn't have a really good childhood. I mean, it was a little bit different back then, and really I kind of got in it. Was digging ditches for Brevard County Road and Bridge when my father got sick and helped paying the bills for my mom and
Right.
my little brothers. But I ended up when my father passed away, ended up going into service. Almost went to the U.S. Army, and I was at
Wow.
MEPS, and I did very well in my ASVAB. That's a aptitude because I'm good at construction, maintenance. I've been in a lot of schools. I did electrical for a while. Went to Brevard Electrical Apprentice Program. Um, so I did very well, and just so happened when I was walking down the halls in Tampa, they're like, "Hey, have you ever thought about the Coast Guard?" And I'm like, "I don't know," and ended up joining the Coast Guard and spent about 6 years there. That was very interesting. So left, did that at the around 21 years old. Uh,
Wow. Now, even throughout your career, I see you have a lot of achievements,
yeah,
success awards,
couple,
even a lot. Don't,
couple,
he's very humble.
couple,
He's very humble.
couple.
But no, like, what really pushed you to get there? I know you were even like one of the biggest, largest, maybe the first association with, I believe, roofing for.
Oh well, actually, that was yeah. Well, I'll back up a little bit. And with the Coast Guard, I kind of I was stationed the first 2 years off the Cutter Competence. They just retired. It was out of Port Canaveral.
Oh,
We spent most of our time down the Windward Passage. That's when a lot they had a lot of refugees from Haiti. I was a rescue
right.
swimmer there, and we did there. And then after that, spent a couple years there on the ship. Spent about 4 years in Miami at Station Miami. During that time, I got to go with the port security unit. Was up during Uphold Democracy to Haiti. When they went to Haiti, was assigned to them and as a raider boat coxswain. And what that is your asset protection. And you got like a modified whaler. You got a 50 caliber on the front, 60 on the back, and anything
Wow.
comes around the Navy ships, you blow it out of the water. And I
Whoa.
got to do that. It was pretty neat. So it was all asset protection. I did that, but I really wanted to be a police officer. And at that time, I was 26 in Miami. I was at pushing about five and a half years, I think it was. And either you stay in or you get out. And I got seasick a lot. So I said,
Right.
I went out there and you're bobbing up and down. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go to be a police officer. I ended up going to work at Sanford Police Department, and I was at
Right.
Sanford for
Right.
3 years and
Hmm.
did that until 2000. And I wanted to come back home to Melbourne, and I decided to do that. So that's what I did, and spent my next 12 in Melbourne. Did a lot of stuff, street crimes, canine for about 6 years, 6.5 years. But street crimes was very interesting as well. We did a lot of surveillance and um, theft rings, and so it was pretty neat. So I did my last 12 there. So that's when I ended up retiring when the economy got better. And during this time, when I really had nothing to do, I started several businesses. I started my roofing company. I started a roll-off dumpster business and started my insurance agency. And about 2012, the economy got a lot better. We went in a kind of a recession back in like '09, 10, 11. And when it got better, I just, I'd make a choice. I was working probably 100 hours a week, and you can only do that for so long. So
Now, let's rewind back to where you were there to even help liberate Haiti in a sense. Where were you like mentally during these times?
mentally, a lot of times when you're in a service like that, you don't have time to think. I mean, you just, it, and I'll kind of give you the synopsis of what happened. I remember I was stationed in Miami Beach. Me and two other guys had a 3-bedroom house on the water,
Hmm.
really nice. We're doing search and rescue. We have our own boat and cruise, and they called me in they woke me up on a Sunday morning, and it was like 7:30 in the morning. They're like, the XO needs you to come in and take a physical. I'm like, some. first off, the XO and the COs don't come in on a Sunday. That's not how it works. And
Whoa.
something ain't right. I'm in trouble. I think I'm in trouble. You know, what did
Right.
I do? And
Right.
sure enough, I go in and there's another guy that shows up, and we ended up the whole day took physicals, and about 3:30 in the afternoon, they gave us a plane ticket, and they said, "Hey, here you go. You're going to Ohio, Port Clinton, Ohio." And it's like,
Wow.
why? They don't even tell us why. Why? And so I ended up going there, and when we got there must have been 50 of us, and we're all small boat coxswains. And what that is you're certified, you have your own boat and crew. So
Right.
if we were a crew in the Coast Guard, let's say you were my MK, my deckhand or whatever, if there was a search and rescue or a law enforcement thing, you'd get your guns, we hop on board, I'd be in charge of the boat, I'd be the captain. So, but we were all coxswains there. It was like 50 of us, and they took us to Port Clinton, Ohio, and we trained for probably I think about 5 or 6 weeks. They put us in fatigues, and
Whoa.
then they never really told us where we were going. They wouldn't even tell us. We couldn't make phone calls out. Nothing.
Wow.
Now remember, I had a life in Miami. I was going to school, Miami-Dade, and so I couldn't go to school. Nobody knew. They even knew where I was. Like people thought, dropped off the face of the earth. And then that night, I remember they brought us in a room, and President Clinton gave a speech about us liberating Haiti, and we're like, guess where you're going? Here's your guns, let's go. And so it was
Wow.
pretty interesting, and that. So, but you asked the question, where are you mentally?
Mentally.
You don't really have time to think. You're just in a reactionary mode, and you know it was all coming from like I call poor kid. My brother and I growing up here, we had 3 pair of pants between 2 of us. Poor kids seeing the world, and seeing other countries, how they live, and when you're on the fly and you're moving like that, it's pretty neat. It's pretty rewarding, and when I say the service, the Coast Guard, gave me a lot of structure that I didn't get when I was younger. They taught me how to do a lot of things, try to be on time, and try to, you make your bed, you do everything. So it's something that I didn't get, I feel, as a kid, is all that, structure and, proper discipline. And that's what it really is rewarding to me. I think that's the best way to put it. Where am I mentally? They put me in the right spot.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
That's very touching. That's very,
Yeah.
I feel like that even alone is just moving.
Well, and then also, you get to, went to rescue swimmer school in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So you're a rescue swimmer. You're being deployed out in the water, and I remember growing up as a kid, I almost drowned in Hitchtucking Springs and in Ocala, and I was scared of the water, and so becoming a rescue swimmer and beating that fear and being out on the ocean, and it's like, there's nothing out there except bigger fish, and so
You were literally swimming with the sharks.
oh yeah, no, you see sharks all the time.
Wow.
I wasn't worried about the sharks.
Wow. I mean, I bet.
No,
I bet.
well, I wasn't worried about the sharks because there are things out there that eat sharks. Like you talking about barracuda.
Yeah.
Barracudas, we jump overboard and do like swim call, and we one time jumped in, there was barracudas everywhere, and it's like, get out of the water, but
What?
when they got teeth, and it's like, those things are nasty. I mean, but you think about, you learn out there that
Right.
little fish are jumping because bigger fish are going after them, and the bigger fish are going after them, and the bigger fish, and you realize you see things out there, you go, hey, they're big. The whales are big, and so sharks,
They're just little.
sharks, media hype up sharks.
Right.
There's sharks in the water everywhere you go.
That's true.
They just media hypes it up. Someone got bit or something.
Yeah.
But I guess hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, it definitely does, for sure, for sure. So then you transitioned to police officer,
Yeah.
K-9.
Well, from there, so I went to the city of Sanford, and I worked at Sanford for 3 years. Did a lot of community policing, and then I was on a street crimes there.
Right.
And I did
Okay.
that, and then I was only there for 3 years.
Then you
and
came here.
And I came to Melbourne
Back
and,
to-
and worked my last 12 here at Melbourne. That was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of being a police officer, and not just that, but being the field training officer. I did all the, but K-9 was probably the best gig because, working a full service dog. I worked a
His name was
shepherd.
Pharaoh?
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh. It's spelled
F-A-R-O.
F-A-R-O. I was
Yeah,
like,
Pharaoh,
that's
F-A-R-O, and
awesome.
he was a big shepherd. He was actually from Slovenia, big and hairy, and you
Wow.
spray him down, he looked like a little rat, But then I worked a Malinois after that, and those are pretty crazy. So I worked a Malinois. His name was Nitro, so I worked him for a little while. So
Whoa.
K-9 was a lot of fun. I mean, I think just taking them home, they live with you.
And you trained them, like, what was the type of training you had before, obviously, leading up to this?
Well, you actually end up going to a school. You get FDLE certified, which is the Florida Department of Law Enforcement
That's
certified,
sick.
and then there's other Napwater and there's other different organizations that certify you. But FDLE is a big one, especially if you have a bite dog, and they're called bite dogs because they go after people. But having that school you go to with the dog initially, when you buy the dog, when you go get the dog, you kind of match them up. The dog has some kind of training. They know how to fetch, they know how to attack, they know how to.
Right.
Training is really for the handler, and the first, I think it's at least 5 months training,
Okay.
full time. I mean,
Wow.
I mean it's
Legit.
but you're going home. You're doing 70 hours total. You're at work, but you're training. You take them home, training, and it's rapport training, and then once you do that, then you get certified. And the day you get on the road, you're a rookie. That dog and you, and then you're going to different scenarios.
This is your coworker, so you have to get to know your coworker.
Well, yeah, and it's all about response too. You're going to,
Right.
for example, what's different about those dogs? If you have a detection dog, strictly a detection dog, like at an airport or something, they detect bombs and stuff. And we had one named Boomer, black. He was a black shepherd, and that's what they do. They detect. But when you have like a full service dog, you may be tracking like a suspect, and then your next call will be looking for a kid missing. The next call will be, drug sniff. The next call will be article searches. Article searches were pretty neat, and what that meant is we would do a canine, like a show or an event, and I would tell somebody like, hey, do you have a ring? Yeah, take it, throw it as far as you can in the grass. And then they'd be, people throwing a $2,000 ring, and I'd say, Farrell, find. And he would go find it, and when he found it, he'd lay next to it because he could smell the scent on it, and he would track it and move. I mean, it would be out there. It'd be out there 60, 70, 80 feet out, and he'd just track it, and then there it is. But article, that's what they do, and they can smell that, and you can see when they get in a scent cone, they're back and forth, and boom, when they hit it, they get tight, and they go in, and they'll lay down, and that's article search. And that's done if you're trying to find a gun, if you're trying to find a knife. We get people calling, I lost my ring, I had a necklace and a tear, and, I'll send my dog out, he'll find it.
That is
they're pretty amazing. They can do that.
Awesome.
And they're dead on accurate.
Yeah,
They will find it.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen even dogs who I think that weren't that good or that sharp, they'd still find it within 30 seconds.
Jeez.
If a good dog would find it in 5 seconds, boom, they hit it and lay.
So I feel like Brevard is very pro dogs or canines. Why is that?
You mean for police or in general?
For police or animals protecting.
Well,
animals
I mean,
overall.
and that's a good question. When I don't tell a lot of people what I did, but it's been about 5 or 6 years ago, the sheriff took over Brevard Animal Services, and I don't tell this story, but I remember when I went to work for Brevard County Road and Bridge when I was 19. One of my jobs is they had the animal shelter on Electronics Drive, and they used to kill the dogs. And my job was to take them to the landfill. It was terrible.
What?
And I was and because that's how it was, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and they would just put them to sleep because there was that's how they operated, and it was the worst thing. And it's just to see that, and so when the sheriff took over, he actually called me. He said, "Listen, we want to put together a thing called the Pet Posse. I want to make the animal shelter a no-kill shelter."
I love
And he
that.
said, Paul, and I knew the sheriff from when he worked for FDLE as a canine handler. He had a show called Be Safe for people. Be Safe. He talked about locking your doors and stuff. And I would go on with my canine and do stuff with my canine. And so he said, listen, you're very good with dogs. I want to make the animal shelter a no-kill shelter. And he had a few people, John Casey, a few others that said, okay, we'll do that. And what we did is we started raising money for the animal shelter. We went in. When we took our initial walkthrough, cats were next to dogs. They were all stressed out because the dogs bark. Cats get stressed out. So what we did is separate them. We had artists come in and paint like the walls and like sailboats, and the cats were in their own place.
Beautiful.
And when you go to adopt an animal, you see that, and they're all happy, or they're not like all freaked out. And then the dogs, you put them in another area. I had an event one night. John Casey and I, we raised about $38,000. We put a swimming pool at people don't know there's a swimming pool at the animal shelter.
What?
Where you can go out there and see it. The dog bone shaped pool for the dogs. So
That is
you
so
can
cute.
actually
I'm
go
about to
out there
cry.
and take the dogs and walk them and take them. They jump in, they swim, and it's pretty neat. But we raised the money for that. We totally revamped. It was an open field. They end up put a fence up. The dogs let them loose. They run and wear them out. They're so not amped up in the cage. So we did I think the sheriff wanted to do it in 2 years. I think we did it in half the time. But a lot of people may complain. Well, there's strict rules. One of the complaints I get, well, I tried to get a dog and it's a lottery now. Well, that's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
It's a great thing when the dog, you've got people that want them.
Yeah.
So that was a change, a very positive change that we did. And so if you look right now, the animal shelter, we just talking to the sheriff. He's in the process. We got everything approved, but he's building like a 1.5 or probably at least that surgery center for the animals.
Wow.
So the animals come in, they can get, if they need surgery, they're in bad shape, they get the surgery. And actually what I'm being told is if you can't afford it for an animal, they'll actually help you get the surgery and stuff. So, people that can't afford to have an animal and something happens, that's something where they'll be able to go out there, to my understanding. So there's a lot of positive things going on behind the scenes. We don't really talk about it because it's still in the process. And when you talk about, people are like, when did it happen? And when did it happen? And when you're doing it, And unfortunately, sometimes that takes funding. All the money's being raised, like privately, and so those are good things happen. But if I step back and I look in time of what it used to be like to what we have now, like the dog parks. If you go to the animal shelter on O'Galley, they had a small dog park, and that kind of gave me an idea. And I said, the city of Melbourne has no dog parks, and so I ended up, telling council. I was on council at the time. I said, listen, I want to build a dog park. Well, we don't have the funding. Well, I'm gonna raise all the money privately. So we ended up building the first dog park off Florida, the second one off O'Galley at Crane Field, and the third one's off in Vieira.
Wow.
Beautiful dog parks. And matter of fact, they made the National Realtors magazine. If you look at them, the realtors donated all like the Adirondack colored chairs. We got
That's
beach sand.
sick.
And I don't know if you've been to any of the dog parks here in Melbourne, city of Melbourne. They're absolutely.
I have a dog too. I just don't know where they are. Honestly.
Yeah, there's 3 here, and we have jumps. They have one of them's got they got fire hydrants that shoot water. I mean, they are pristine. They're beautiful, and
have to check them out.
I donated a lot to that, and so it was all done by volunteers too. So we put stuff up on the Eventbrite, and I think the one on Florida Avenue, we had like 600 volunteers.
Jeez.
We got all the paint from the landfill, so it was all recycled paint. The wood, Lowe's was a partner in that. Again, the realtors, we had all these businesses, and Kangaroo Electric. I remember they donated all their electrical services, lighting and stuff. So if you ever get a chance, go out there and check. But that's something that, if you ask me what's the number one thing that I'm proud of is, to be kind of the man behind the curtain to build these, but not just say, hey, we're gonna take tax dollars and build it. We actually did it without tax dollars, and we raised the money, and we got the volunteers.
That's
and
awesome.
A lot of people say, well, you use tax dollars to maintain it. Absolutely.
Right.
We do that for basketball
Right.
courts. We do it for community centers, and if it's an empty space, why not have a dog park?
Right. I love that.
So, and I've had a lot of cities contact me, a lot of cities saying, how did you do this? All the benches, all recycled plastic. So everything's recycled. If you were to go in there, the concrete we used, even on the big jumps, the one O'Galley, was an old tennis court we cut up and used machines to make the jump. So pretty much everything's recycled.
That's awesome.
Everything except the umbrellas. They have the big commercial umbrellas.
That's how we, stay green, go green.
Yeah,
for
and
Melbourne,
it
for
is.
the city, we need that here.
Yeah, and all the benches, if you see, it's got people's names. They bought the benches, and in memory of their family members. So it was very successful. I mean, each one, if you were to try to build that, you're probably looking $500,000 per one.
Whoa.
That's how much.
Wow.
That's how big they are. So if you ever get a chance, and they got a area for a small dog park and then one for a big dog park.
I'll definitely check it out.
So
for sure.
So yeah, check it out. Check our City of Melbourne dog parks out. Very proud of them, and they take a lot of maintenance sometimes, but you know what? Dogs are having fun.
Yes. So let's get back to you. So you are rerunning for mayor, correct?
Yeah.
So this will be your second term that you'll be going into.
Yes.
So what are your top priorities for Melbourne?
Well, and That's a great question, and there's quite a few. And I kind of look back over the 4 years being mayor, and what we've achieved is pretty astronomical. You see, if you were to look at a city as mayor, a lot of people see the city through their eyes. They don't see it through the eyes of, of someone that says, "Listen, I've got constituents that are young. I got them that are old. I have some of them that like golf, and if you look, you have a very diverse population. You have a lot of Brazilians, you have a lot of, uh, everybody, and it's a melting pot. And you really have to develop a city that really is appeasing to everyone. So, I look at also having positive change. When I got on council, one of the first things I did was brought in the mural program, all the murals in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a business owner. Everybody knows who he is, and I'll call him out. He's a great guy. But he owns Chesquans, and
Okay.
he had put a mural. He's right down the road from my office, my businesses, and he had put a mural up, and the city made him take it down.
Oh.
And the people on council at the time didn't like murals. They thought it was just graffiti, whatever.
Right.
So when I got on, one of the things that I did was to do the jump on the mural program. And, we probably got at least 50, 60, 70 murals throughout the city.
Wow.
If you see some of the great arts, you see the Sharks, you go down to downtown O'Galley, you see, you go down to downtown Melbourne, you see the murals, you see more and more.
Abstract.
And like the arts district in O'Galley, if you're truly going to have an arts district, you got to have murals. That's just the way it operates. And then, we changed the philosophy for food trucks. The city didn't want food trucks. So now, if you incorporate that as mayor, you have to start thinking ahead. And, a lot of times people say, I don't want things to change.
Right.
Well, change is sometimes good. Some change is not, but some change is good. And in a city, if you don't make change, you don't repave your streets. If you don't change your lighting, if you don't create job opportunities for people, the city will end up dying. That's the way it is. And I hear a lot of people say, hey, I want the city of Melbourne to go back the way it was in the 80s. Well, I remember it in the 80s, and it wasn't definitely what it is now.
You have to evolve.
No, definitely you have to evolve, So looking at, as mayor my first 4 years, what I wanted to do, we have some major obstacles. And really, I would say it's national optics that kind of transform as mayor. For example, homelessness. Homelessness is not a city of Melbourne problem. It's a nationwide problem. And depending on the cities, how they, react, and you have the state of Florida now says, well, you're going to address this or else. Well, this is all of our problems. This is a problem that not just us, City of Palm Bay, everybody has that problem. So we have to address it together. But a lot of entities like to just throw, well, you handle that. That's not our problem. I've seen, and I've even heard and seen of, other police officers, other cities just come and dropping somebody off in another city because they don't want to deal with it. That doesn't solve a problem. That doesn't show dignity for the person. So, we have to address the homelessness. The city of Melbourne, we're the only city that actually has a homeless outreach coordinator. We work in coordination with Daily Bread and several other organizations, Love Inc. Do a lot of work with them on the model that I put together for our cold weather shelter. We're the only city in Brevard County that like if there's cold weather, we actually open up a community center. Before Love Inc. and all the groups were spending their dollars to try to get people hotel rooms. And how long does that last? How do you get a hold of people? So I said, wait a minute, your dollars should be spent for your organization and what you want to do. So we opened up the Grant Street Joseph Davis now Community Center. We open them and they feed, and you can bring your animals. So it's been very successful.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's a lot of positive things. Even the city of Palm Bay, for example, Kenny Johnson, he'll put something out, hey, if you need to go, Melbourne's available. And, we work close with the city of Palm Bay on a lot of things. But, what we like to be is on the forefront of getting things done, whether our baffle boxes or the way good Cape Canaveral, they're very good on some of the stuff they do. And we kind of try to mirror that, Satellite Beach. And what they're doing well, we try to do well. But City of Melbourne is where it's all happening. We are the economic engine of Brevard County. We have the international airport. We're the fastest growing airport in the state.
Wow.
A lot of people are not aware of that.
I'm definitely
Fat,
not.
our percentages were faster than growing bigger than or faster than Orlando, Miami, all those airports.
And you're on the board, or
Yeah,
you were?
I'm on the board of the airport, international
That's
airport. So
awesome. And
with
how long have you been on the board for that?
since mayor, I've been on for almost 4 years.
That's
So,
sweet. That's
you know,
sweet.
we're almost reaching. We're up near 1 million passengers a year.
Wow.
You know, a lot of people are not aware of that.
Do you
So.
think that with Space Coast being here, that also plays a part with bringing more
Well,
activity?
initially, our airport was really known as a real estate venture. If you think about our airport, the majority of the revenue and stuff was, you know, L3 Harris, Grumman,
Right.
Embraer, all the companies around, and you had a kind of a small airport. Now, our airport, we just went over about a $70 million terminal expansion. So when you go in now, it's absolutely beautiful. When you go there, you're in and
Wow.
out. Um,
I love that airport. I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. I
Well, have you been there
really,
lately?
yes. Well, maybe I haven't since January.
Okay, so you
So,
saw the
yeah.
new terminal and
Yes.
expansions and stuff.
Yes.
So before
Yes.
the issue you have to track these airlines and everything like was old, outdated. You had, let's say, 45 different terminal areas, and for baggage, well, everything was like plastic and it was shut down till that Delta maybe
Right.
used a flight in 5 days. Now everything's digital, so you can click a button and now it's Allegiant. Or you can
That's
click a button and it can
beautiful.
be, you know, anybody. So that attracts the carrier saying, even if we're only flying 3 or 4 days out of the week, you hit a button in 5 minutes, you take over that terminal, you take over the computer,
That's
and
sick.
it's really nice. So we're seeing a lot more flights coming in, and as you attract them, you know, we now have the fly-in hotel there. It's a beautiful
Right.
hotel right there. So we're seeing the growth, and it's really starting to pay off. And what we're strategically looking at buying more property along the runway and some of the property that the airport has had. We're selling the one right now for the water park. The water park
Oh,
will be going there, and that's Avalon Capital working.
that's
It's
awesome.
beautiful. It's going to be a man-made like water park with coffee shops, and you'll be able to go there. Nightclubs. It's going to be
Woo.
absolutely beautiful. So that's going to be it's 50 something acres, but it's going to be a nice man-made water park, and they have them in different places, Dubai, Orlando,
Right.
and that's been approved, and we're just again waiting for FAA approval on that.
That
So
is
so
awesome.
that's going to be a nice addition of, you know, think about you could, if you want to have a little clothing store, you can sell clothes there, booths, and or, you know, a nightclub. You go at night, take your family, go for a walk on the boardwalk, and you know, and it's going to be beautiful. The renderings are absolutely beautiful.
How do you see the growth of Melbourne's infrastructure with the growth of the population as we are continuing to be filled in with?
Well, right, and there's a lot of challenge of that because you know, we are one of the top places to move in the nation. I think U-Haul does. They'll do like a survey, and they'll say where are our trucks one way being rented, and we are at one point number 4 in the nation of people moving here.
Wow.
Right now, I think it was funny. You know, I got a call from the media. Hey, we were in the top. I think we were 15, 16. We dropped to like 40, 48th in the nation to live. And they're like, what do you think about the drop? Listen, if you're in the top 50 places to live, you know, we did drop because affordability. I mean,
Right.
it's got to be affordable too. And so I don't look at it as a negative. You know, that you're in the top 50, that's good.
That's
And
great.
so I would say if you're in the top 50 richest people, does it really matter where you are on the list?
You're so rich.
Exactly, exactly.
I
But
love that.
I don't know if that's a good, you know, that's a good
No, but
analogy.
I get it. I get it.
But yeah, that's so the infrastructure. I will tell you, we're better off than a lot of people think. If you were to look, for example, where you know you hear that you know we have 2 sewer plants, and you know you never hear Melbourne discharging. You never hear about that. We're going through. I mean, I'm talking about tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of refurbishing all that, and biosolids are a big issue, and you know we're doing a lot better on that side, that production side, but the infrastructure we're doing okay. I tell people, look, back 60s, 70s, the way Melbourne was designed, everything that's in the streets flowed. You know, when it rained, it went down, it went into the
Right.
lagoon,
Right.
and that's where it went. You know, we've installed, I think we're up to nearly 20 baffle boxes where they're gigantic systems that when it rains, they drop down that baffle box. It cleans the nitrogen, the phosphorus, so the water that
That's
trickles out are clean. So now that's why you see, you're starting to see a resurgence of the lagoon. And I do stuff. Meet with the Brevard Zoo. They have a great team there for the lagoon team. You always see all the oysters on O'Galley, and they're doing all these oyster beds. And we have, I think, 7 or 8 local places that when they sell oysters, or the restaurant, they donate them back. They'll grow them, they put them out, and they grow them. So you're seeing all the change, and I think there's news reports out now. We're starting to see it's more clear. The grass is growing back. It's going to take some time to do because we didn't destroy the lagoon in a week. So, but we're seeing a lot of the infrastructure, the updates, the changes that allow the water to get clean before it gets to the lagoon. You can't just dump. We're not down in South Florida where you have an outgoing tide out of government cut every 12 hours. Everything unfortunately gets stuck in the middle. Up in Canaveral, a lot of times that lock is closed. You have Sebastian.
Right.
You have such a long county that stuff sits and it doesn't discharge. And I know people's talked about creating some kind of cut around Patrick. I'm not a scientist. You have some scientists say no, some say yes. Again, that I think that's kind of. I'm not a scientist, and maybe they'll do that. Do I think it'll work? My opinion, I do. I think, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, there's a lot more, brackish water, and people worried about it changing. Well, we've changed for the negative.
right.
So maybe if we go back, will it change? Change the lagoon? Possibly, but again, that's kind of above my pay grade.
Oh, for sure, I understand.
That's kind of a federal project, and
Yeah,
it's not something
yeah.
that the city of Melbourne
But
does.
it's great that you're involved, and
Yeah.
and that brings me to my next question. With being the fact that you're involved with the community, how important is that to you to connect and be there?
Well, again, I grew up here, and this is my hometown. I love my hometown. I'm technically probably the first O'Galley mayor, they would say, from graduated here at the O'Galley High School,
Wow.
and I wasn't with the political elite. The political elite is the same family. My cousin uncle's running for it, and all the money's thrown toward them, and you can't get a hold of them, and it's really they run the city. The little select group runs the city
Right.
how they deem fit. I don't get along with that group. When I got on council, there was a lot of corruption in the city of Melbourne.
Right.
We had tax dollars stolen. I got recovered. There was
Dang.
arrest of an elected official when I got on.
You can say this right now. I guess you can.
Oh yeah, I'll say it. Well, no, it's a public record. I did go to
Wow.
Tallahassee, went in front of the Judicial Legislative Audit Committee. I did. There was a lot of invoice scamming going on, and it was pretty. It was pretty bad, and I had the auditors come in. Again, the audit report, public record. You're going to see more of it this election. Even my opponent was a former mayor. Me personally, the police officer, with the fraudulent land deal that she pulled, if it had been me or you, we'd have been arrested for it.
What?
And it's terrible. And again, I'll debate her or anybody at any time.
I was just thinking about that. Maybe we should have a debate here.
Yeah, I'll talk about the fraudulent land deal, about the worthless property, cost the city taxpayers $500,000.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and and the JLAC, again, I think the reason probably more didn't happen is there was that happened before I got on council. I called for the JLAC audit. It was there when you think about law enforcement, there's you got to do something in a certain time, and if
Right.
you don't, you lose that the ability to prosecute, and so yeah, I remember being on council, and when I went to the contractor who I knew, and it was a pretty eloquent scam, and I got a check back and I gave it to the city saying, look, we were scammed from these invoice scams, and people were like, they're fleeing. I was very unpopular. I was very unpopular by the political elite, and I don't
For
really
sure,
care.
because you were,
Right. And when you're in the
bringing
community,
things
at
to
the
light.
end of the day, look, at the end of the day, my job is to do the right thing, and I would have never thought, being in the city of Melbourne, that the town I grew up, there was that kind of corruption. Oh, there was. And so, my rule is, look, Everything goes in the agenda.
Right.
Everything's public record. You have a question, my personal cell phone number is on the city website. And if you want to get a hold of me, look, you may not like the answer. I'm going to give you an answer.
Yeah.
And
like
I'm going to
that.
give you the reason I made that decision.
Sure.
And people try to throw in national politics. Look, when you're locally, people want clean streets. They want
Right.
safe streets. One of my goals was now we have the highest paid police officers in Brevard County. We're about to have the highest paid fire department in the county. So
Wow.
public safety is top, and we have the lowest tax millage in 10 years. So and we're with the budget now, we're looking to keep the millage rate the same. So we're very efficient. We're very efficient.
I
Where
love that.
I won't name out other cities to the south, but I was told tonight they're going to be adding more to the millage, and if it's correct, they'll be nearly double what you pay. And I won't mention the cities to the south, but if that's the case with the road bond and everything, just
Right.
imagine paying twice as much in a city compared to Melbourne.
Oh,
So, and that it's all from being efficient.
wow. And you literally, I feel like your background most likely helped you catch,
Oh
these-
yeah, oh yeah. It was
Yeah.
definitely, billing. They were billing invoices for work that wasn't done, and
Right.
they were making it small enough that it didn't get caught by the city. So,
Mm-hmm.
and oh yeah, I caught that one pretty quick. And again, I won't mention names, but somebody did go to jail. And it's that's what you get from me. That
Wow.
and I don't look, I'm here to do a job, and when I'm done, I'm done. But this is my hometown, and that's what I think people want. They want somebody that's going to fight for them.
How does being a small business owner affect your policies and decisions as the mayor?
Oh, and that's probably what helped me a lot, because when you have a small business, when someone starts a small business, they put their life, everything into it.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll put their money, technically their retirement. And so, when people do that, whether they're opening a small restaurant, or they're doing podcasts, they're doing what they love, but they're working hard. They're the janitor, they're their account, they're the bookkeeper, they're responsible, and they take on the burden, and the last thing you need is government
Right.
to be a hindrance. The government should be designed to help the public, prosper, small business prosper. So seeing that, when there's so much red tape, when people can't get permits, or the city's coming down on you, they won't allow you to paint a wall the color you like.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back traditionally in government has not always been good to the people. It's been terrible to the
sure.
people. So, it's very important to me seeing that and having that small business, knowing that I started my first, second, third, and fourth business, that government didn't really help me. And the fact, if anything, it hurt me more than anything. And some of the policies. And so my goal has always been, if you're really going to have a prosperous, community, if people are going to be able to send their kids to college, or to schools they want to school, you have to help those small businesses, because the small businesses are also the largest employers in our nation.
Correct.
They are. I mean, if you think about, even when you have, let's say you have big companies, and I'll throw like an L3 Harris, there are a lot of small businesses start from a lot of the engineers leaving, and I kind of tell a story when I was a canine handler. A lot of people don't know this, but I remember going to a call, and there was years ago, I think there was an engineer that left, he left from being there. He had his own ideas. But I went in, and he had all these things on the wall, like lines. He's like, and we were talking, my dog Barrow cleared the room. As a matter of fact, we're probably a mile from where it's at. So I said, well, what are you doing? He said, I'm designing the thumbprint for your phone. So you will be able to touch your phone and the phone open up. And the company's called Authentic. It was here. And he ended up selling that to, I think, Apple for several $100 million. But that was a mile from where we are. And I talked to the guy, and I'm like, really? And back then, you had the flip phones, it was like you flip phones, but yeah, there's like you touch, that's what you did. And
That's
that was designed
sick.
right here,
Right.
like a mile down the road here. From a lot of startup companies, you see that happen, and you would never think about that.
Right. Right.
But you ever get time, look at on Wikipedia on Tech and
Oh
how
yeah,
Melbourne,
definitely.
Florida, and the design and what they sell. And it's like somebody had an idea. It was a small business, and somebody had an
Wow.
idea, and it changed the face of cell phones. Remember thumbprints? Some people
Sure.
have those still.
Yeah,
And it's gone to
absolutely.
facial recognition, but we always improve. But small business, being a small business owner, is very. It's really helped me, with helping others, because that's what City Hall should be about. It should be helping. And if you were to look at all the small businesses that start in your community, that's what makes your city successful.
So, what are your efforts being made here to grow the arts and cultural science here in Melbourne?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, that's so important to this community, and going to different events, going to, like, for example, the Hispanic Chamber with Javier, and talking to everybody and all the melting pot and the people you have. It's really with the arts and the culture, it's growing here. And Melbourne, I would say, is kind of on the forefront, because it's, as you see businesses pop up. Went the other day, went to the Brazilian, had a Brazilian restaurant, and that kind of food, and different flavors, and so with, you kind of have, I guess best way to answer that is you have to support the people that come, and you got to make it, again, business friendly. A lot of small businesses. When you talk about the arts, downtown O'Galley with the mural programs that I help incorporate, and it's just, you have to show everybody that they're welcome.
Right.
I think the biggest thing talking to people is when I meet them, they say, well, you make me want to do something here.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to answer your phone, and I think when you meet these type of people that want to bring something different in the community, you realize they have a following, and you realize that what they're bringing is something that you've really been missing in your city. So, anything that we can do government-wise, I warn a lot of people, listen, government, it's not my job to make you successful. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not my job to hinder you. My job to make you successful, to really kind of not be in your way. So anything that I can do when you talk about, like, I'll use downtown O'Galley, the culture that's going down there, the murals, the art museum, and we kind of laughed a little bit, but we had an artist that I don't even know who he is, did a painting of me, and it was like, I'm kind of a popular mayor.
You're a
where
pillar and you're a pillar. You're someone important to help, keep us up here in Melbourne to do what we do in the art and science community.
Well, and
so that's important.
And it's important to support people that are trying to bring the culture here and do these events, and you're there to support them, and know that when they know that they have an ally in City Hall, it helps them a lot too. They become a lot more efficient.
Right.
And I get a lot of calls, people saying, hey, will you support this event? And I'm going to an event tomorrow night and for Jay, and it's going to be a comedy show, and it's supporting that. And he's like, would you come as mayor?
awesome.
Absolutely. We're going to have a great time there. And if you want to roast me, bring it on. I just got to warn you, I may come back at you.
That's as you
That's
should.
a lot of fun.
As
And I'm
you
gonna tell you right
should.
now, I can be ruthless sometimes. All right.
I love that.
I'm a competitor,
I
so.
love that. But back to your mural, that's why you got that recognition, because you are, down to earth. You are more of a, you're for the people.
Yeah.
That's what, But being that you are a Republican and you have friends in the Democratic world.
I got a lot of friends. Yeah.
Wow. How does that work?
Oh, that's easy.
And why do people think that you can't be together?
Well,
and
and it's fun.
friends?
It's funny, and it's how do you? Okay, and the problem with our really nation is we're defining things by Republican or Democrat, and what it is, it's two sides that are fighting.
Right.
And they're trying to get people riled up. The reality, if you think about what a traditional Republican is, they support small business, lower taxes, strong public safety, and that's what you're wanting. And so I think we've lost our way as a nation, that we can't work together. And you see that. You see, I tell people there's far left, but there's also far, far, far right. And really, I think the majority of the people are in the middle. And if you were to ask me, what's your affiliation? If people, I'll send somebody a birthday card. And I've had people call me up. I don't want the birthday card from you because you're Republican, and I'll tell them I
Wow.
want to wish you happy birthday anyway, because I sent you as a one as a
Yeah,
person,
as a
and I
person.
used my own money. I didn't use city money. The fact
Right.
that but some people are just like that, and
Man.
I think again, being if you were to step back and look at what I don't get along with a lot of the Republicans because I
Mhm.
just feel like some of their stances are everything's anti. The
Mhm.
reality, in my opinion, the Republicans, they're about freedom, they're about liberty,
Mhm.
they're about personal responsibility, they're about parental choice.
Right.
Parents taking action and being responsible. So
Mhm.
that's where I am. So I don't really get into like the national politics. You don't see me going,
Mhm.
this person is bad because of this, because of
Mhm.
this. Again, there's good and bad and everything.
Mhm.
So again, I think the system works when the best ideas come out, and those best ideas will win.
Right.
I'll tell people if you don't like bad speech, the only thing that beats bad speech is better speech.
Mm.
And so my job is to protect the rights, to protect your rights to practice your religion, to be safe, and so that's my job. So
Mhm.
a lot of people look at it as a Republican. When we run as a nonpartisan because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat to get somebody's garbage picked up, to
Right.
make sure the toilet's flush, to make sure you have clean streets.
Mm.
And I've actually met people that are Democrats, and I go, why are you a registered Democrat? And they said, because. Because
Wow.
what? They can't even answer that. Because I'll be like, did you know the philosophy that you have are Republican? No, I didn't
Mm.
know that. And I've had
Mm.
quite a few of them that
So
say
some
that.
are
And
just not educated. They don't really
well, and again,
genuinely
they're told by the media or certain groups,
of what you should
of
follow.
what you should and shouldn't do. And in reality, we've had a lot of people, again, everything's faster because it's social media,
Mhm.
and even the media, everything's sent. If you were to look at a story through one media that's more Republican and more that's one Democrat, you'll get the same story, but it's slanted in two different
For
ways.
sure.
And it's to keep me and or you and somebody
Separated.
not agreeing. Well, at the end of the day, it's my job. We can disagree all day long, but until someone steps up and says, "Look, we have to solve these problems." At the end of the day, there's many people that just go to work, take care of their kids. They're
Right.
worried about, where they're going to get food on the table, or going to keep the
Mhm.
light bill on, and is their car not going to be broken into?
Mhm.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about the national politics. People ask, "Are you going to go higher?" You know, higher to what?
Yeah.
To me, the most important thing is my community.
Mhm.
Because listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, it doesn't matter who goes to Washington. You're not gonna change Washington. If you really think with all the money being thrown out there, you're gonna change Washington.
Right.
I mean, it's funny people saying Washington's been broke for 100 years. I
Yeah.
mean, you have elected officials and they've been there 50 years. They're talking about changing it. If
Mm.
you can't do your job in 50 years, you need to find another job.
Yes.
So, and it's all rhetoric. It's all rhetoric. And I
Mhm.
tell people when I say, listen, if you see a Republican or Democrat up in D.C.,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. You still can't approach them
Yeah.
because you'll get tackled by the Secret Service. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's a big machine to keep us fight. Where
Mhm.
if everybody got in a room, believe it or not, as Americans, we'd agree on 90% of the things. We
Mm.
may not agree how to get there, but we'd agree that we want our kids safe.
For sure.
We want to have the ability to have a prosperous business,
Mhm.
and that our cars don't break down from all the potholes. And so again, things are very easy if you just focus on doing the right thing. And
Mhm.
and I've had people, Republicans, saying, we don't agree with you on that. And at the end of the day, that's fine. But I will tell you the reason is because the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution, it gives us certain rights, and there's some Republicans that, believe it or not, want to take those rights away from you.
Mm.
And again, that's because they get it in the media and they churn and they say,
Yeah.
hey, you're a bad person. No, at the end of the day, the Constitution, I fought for that, for our Constitution,
Right.
and it gave you rights, it gave me rights, and it's my job in government to protect my rights and your rights, even if I don't agree with what you're doing.
Mhm.
As long as you let me live my life and I let you live yours, that's what the foundation of this America and our government should be based on.
Right. Woo.
but that's it. But I mean, think about that,
Oh, for sure.
and sometimes it's not popular, and but that's a reality.
Yeah.
I
It's
believe
about
in
the
certain things.
people. We have to stop, like, other people want to control and just, like you said, separate. We need people we can see and touch and be there for us. You know, our
And
local government is really what's, to me, is way more important
oh
than
yeah, and
national.
local government, and I've had many, and you talk about whether Republican, Democrat, they put on social. I support this mayor because he's fair,
Yeah,
and that's what
for
people
sure.
want. People want fair people,
Mm-hmm.
and they understand the decision. I can call the mayor and ask him why decision was made,
Right.
and a lot of them think, well, why did you do this in the schools?
Mm-hmm.
We're not responsible for schools. That's school board. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that elected officials. I had nothing to do with that. And they'll go, oh, we didn't know that. Or they'll be like, how come this is happening? That's a county.
Right.
That's in the Brevard County. Oh,
Right.
okay. We thought it was yours. And
Yeah.
I get people call me, and I had one the other day message me, and he's like, I don't think I have the right mayor. I'm like, no, you're talking about Melbourne, Australia. No, you don't. So, and I do. I
That's
get
so
those calls.
funny.
But a lot of people, they'll see something on social media and they
Mm-hmm.
come to a conclusion without knowing what the real facts are.
Now I know, downtown Melbourne is very popular, and it's a lot of activity and traffic going on. What do you think we can do, or what's your intake on that, on how we can make it more safer for people here in Melbourne?
Right, and so that's kind of a something that is important to me with downtown Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of our main street, and it's something that can't be done overnight. But we've already started. When you talk about let's talk about the safety and security. We started with the cameras. Now you have cameras. We did an initial camera in Campbell Park. Now we're doing multiple cameras. We're going to be doing increased police patrols. Also. Lighting very important. We're
Right.
working on right now it's in engineering now. They're doing a whole streetscape. So we're trying to change downtown Melbourne to where it's now more walkable. The sidewalks will be made bigger. The outdoor dining. Last year I was actually named elected official of the year in the state of Florida for Florida Main Streets, and I went up to Ocala
Whoa.
and got the award from the Secretary of State for a lot of the work I've been doing. But a lot of it's dragging because it's taken time for engineering, and unfortunately, government moves a lot slower than business. In business, you can, the business owner, you can make that decision. If you want to paint the wall, the wall's painted,
Right.
but you have to go through a process. And we're seeing, now that you talk about, one of the questions is, our police presence. That was a big question, and we've been short on police officers. Unfortunately, that's been nationwide. Some places worse than others, but now that's been, we now have made our law enforcement the highest paid in Brevard County, which
Wow.
will attract more people. I think
Right.
we sworn in 8 new officers the other day. So as you start beefing up
Nice.
your law enforcement back, we're opening up our about $38 million law enforcement center next month. That's right near the
Wow.
airport. It's a beautiful 76,000 square foot building. It's our EOC center too. So we're invested in law and order and security, and all that takes a little time. And now as you go downtown Melbourne, there were it was a nightlife. There was a couple businesses that maybe were attracting some negative attention, but all that's being addressed through patrols and really reassuring people, because when something happens, the media jumps on it and they say,
Right.
oh, downtown Melbourne's not safe. Downtown Melbourne is safe. If you were to think of going to other cities and stuff, downtown Melbourne is safe, and
Right.
it's going to only get safer. A lot of people are kind of concerned about some of the small businesses leaving. Unfortunately, that does happen, but you also see businesses coming in. There's
Right.
sometimes people want to retire, and maybe the economy is not benefit. And I tell a lot of people, being a business owner like you are, is you always have to change your business model. Someone gets and they sell the same thing for 30 years. That doesn't really help. I mean, you
Very
always have
true.
to evolve, and sometimes you get businesses, they don't do that, or because of medical reasons. There's always reasons why businesses, they end up they retire. And I
Right.
even look at my businesses that one day, I'm going to probably want to, travel more. And actually
Right.
that's actually on my mind now. But so, things are happening in downtown Melbourne. It's going to continue to get safer. I think the streetscape and the outdoor dining that we're doing, looking within the city, relaxing some of the parking restrictions. Right now, if you were to say I want to open a business in downtown Melbourne, they're going to tell you you need 34 spaces. I learned at the last meeting, and I didn't even know this. None of our council did, that our parking restrictions or requirements are 40 years old. Even
Wow.
made before we even had a city parking garage.
That's
And a lot of people are like, well, there's no parking. We have we have a 5-story parking garage
literally.
within walking distance. Well, we don't want to walk. Well, I mean, if you go to other cities and you find a parking spot, you're going to walk a couple blocks.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need to get out as
And exercise.
humans. Yeah, we need to get out and walk more.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And so we're looking for that positive change. Downtown O'Galley, we have the parking garage going in, a real nice hotel going in, Arts Hotel, that'll be done. So you're really, I think, in the next 4 years, you're going to see a whole different change in downtown Melbourne. I had a meeting with the business owners for a couple hours the other day, and so we're going to see some positive changes there.
I love that. How successful has it been with Brightline being here? Let's talk about that.
Well, that's a tough question there, but a lot of people don't realize that no city or county had any say in Brightline. So it was something that was federal that they just brought in. It was like, look, we're going to come in, we're going to tear up all the intersections, and we're going to run a train 32 times a day in your city. And so, that, and then, of course, even worse, we're not going to put a stop in. So, and they tore out a lot of the trees out, buffers. So people that lived in their home for years, now they hear constant horn blowing. So that's something that with the Brightline, I'm working on what's called a quiet zone. And quiet zone, it's very successful down in some of South Florida. Boca, West Palm has a lot of it, where that train, when they come through, they just can't blow the horn for no reason.
Okay.
So the law requires them now that they have to blow it at every intersection.
Okay.
Well, the city of Melbourne has more intersections than any city in the county.
Right.
So the minute they get to South Melbourne, they start laying on the horn all the way through, until they get all the way up to Post Road. So, so that's interesting, and how that happens. But what we want to do, what I like to have done is a quiet zone. Now they still can blow the horn in case of emergency, but that would, a lot of our residents are really supportive of that.
Okay.
So, and then also working on hopefully getting a stop here. If we're going to be, we have one of the fastest growing airports. Why wouldn't you have a stop right there off near the airport?
Right.
So you can park right there.
And
there is initially when they said, well, there's not going to be a stop in Brevard County. They're talking about one in Cocoa now.
Okay.
But the majority of the residents live Vieira South. If you were to look at, probably I'd say 70% of the residents of Brevard live from Vieira South. Palm Bay is the largest city.
For sure.
I mean, do you want to go all the way up to Cocoa to go back south? I mean,
No.
So hopefully we'll end up getting a stop here, and it'd be really good.
That'd be great. Now, what about the speed of it? Like, it's extremely fast. No, that's
Well, yeah, it slows down to like 80. But yeah, it's fast. I mean, it's 100 mile
What
an
about,
hour.
like, safety guards? Like,
Well, yeah, and right now they're working on a federal grant. We have five intersections that don't have what they call quad gates.
Okay.
And we're working on getting quad gates where they all go down so people don't go around.
Right.
And that is a requirement for the quiet zone. So if we can get that done, that's good.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
How do you think the local government should approach, I guess, climate change? I know it's not really something that we can do here, but how do you think that we can partake in that?
Well, if you think, that's a hot button topic, and the reality is I believe our world, our Earth, it's the living organism, and the way the seas change, and anytime you put more and more people, and you put more cars and put more, it's going to definitely have an effect. Now, if you were looking at some of the other countries, that in order for all this to work, everybody's got to do it. And what we do as local government, for example, we changed all our lighting out, like I think probably nearly 5,000 lights to LEDs.
Wow.
We did that. We have charging station now for cars for people to have that. But at the end of the day, a lot of people ask that question, well, what's the city of Melbourne do? Well, the city of Melbourne can only do so much because whatever the city of Melbourne does is not going to affect the whole earth.
Right.
And so, we just have to be responsible on, on doing what we need to do, lower the cost for our residents. And a lot of people, for example, they say, well, we want to go to electric cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that may save on the gasoline, but the battery itself,
Right.
the batteries, what are we going to start doing when we got just stacked full of batteries everywhere?
Right.
Years ago, one of the things, the amazing product called plastic came out. And if you were to look at what plastic does, it's in the
Oof.
landfill and the oceans, it's everywhere. And
Yeah.
and so, now you have young engineers working on biodegradable plastic. So I think we have to get smarter. We have to become more efficient. If you ever were to go to the landfill, you just see people, just can't throw away everything. And so, you have to be very conscious on recycling and really being green. If you cut a tree down, you need to plant one.
Right.
And so, the city of Melbourne, we are we get the award for Tree City USA. Where we've got that for decades. So every year we
That's
get
beautiful.
acknowledged by the arbor group of all the trees that we have in the city. If you fly over Melbourne, it's very green.
Pretty green, yes.
It's very green. You notice that. We don't,
for sure.
and a lot of people will say, well, we're starting to look like Miami. That will never happen. We don't have the zoning. You can't build anything over, you get a 90 feet, etc. So yeah, you can't do
Not
that.
gonna do that. No.
Yeah.
And how is Melbourne supporting veterans and first responders?
Okay. And what do you mean supporting?
As far as even when it was a pandemic, or even surviving that during that time, or even the cost of living, the economy today, how are we helping veterans?
Well,
or-
and I'm a veteran, and I'm a veteran of spent time as a police officer, fire. But I think overall you have to focus on doing the best for everyone, and that includes having one of the lowest tax millage rates. You got to have a safe city, prosperous city. One thing we can't do is we can't say, well, we have to focus on one thing. We have to be able to do everything. And one thing we passed recently, for example, for like some of the elderly population that are on a fixed income, what we did is we gave them an extra exemption off their property taxes, and an additional 10,000 exemption. But that's something from being smart and having a tight budget that we said, look, we're going to give that extra exemption. So I think we support our veterans. We love our veterans. As a matter of fact, if you go to downtown Melbourne, you see veteran banners, and so a lot of my family members are veterans. So at the end of the day, veteran, we have the most probably veterans in the area, I think, because of Patrick Air Force Base or Space Force Base now. But we support everybody in our community, and again, it's from having a successful city.
For sure. I know back maybe a few years ago, I used to feed the homeless in Cocoa, and a lot of them were homeless veterans. So I know that doesn't really play a part here, but what do you think is a disconnection there in that area? You probably couldn't say, but why are a lot of veterans not able to find or receive the resources they need?
Well, I think actually believe it or not, there are a lot of resources out there. And if you were to think about like the CETA, Melbourne, they have a lot of resources here in the city of Melbourne. I would say one of the things I believe is veterans, many of the veterans, including myself, we've lived in a tent.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, a lot of people say, what about homeless veterans? You talk to a lot of these veterans, they like being on their own.
And now that you say that, I've met a lot that lived in tents, and I'm like, maybe that's where they
Yeah, well,
feel
that's how they like to live. I mean, they live they've lived like that for years, and they want to. A lot of them want to live like that. They want to live, and they that's how they live. And actually, I know a couple that they're like, and if I were to, me, if I had to stay in a tent, I could do. I mean, and so
it's a survival. That's
it
what,
was it's conditioned in them.
Right.
So I know a lot of people say, well, veterans, they're living in tents. Ask them why yourself. They'll tell you. I like living here.
So some just don't. Some are just used to it, and they are just.
Well, and again, it could be because they want to, or it could be for it could be mental health reasons. It could be a lot of reasons. But we do have a good outreach. Again, Melbourne's the only one with a a homeless outreach coordinator that we fund every year,
Okay.
and that helps with Daily Bread and some of the other partner organizations to go out and identify people and try to get them help. So we do
Awesome.
that, and hopefully that will keep reach the people that want to be reached. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, as mayor, I'm going to call it like it is. Some people don't want help. Some
Yeah,
people want to be left alone.
for sure.
Some people want to try to live off the grid, and
Mhm.
so that's the way it is. And I got a stance where, look, at the end of the day, like we clean up some of these homeless camps.
Mhm.
I get a lot of people that try to give me slack on this. Look, when it gets to the point where there's tons and tons of trash, and
Mhm.
our residents start complaining, and it's my job to ensure that everybody has rights. Even our tax-paying residents have rights. We now with like the some of the houses we call zombie houses, and
Mm.
we're the first city to sue banks, because we've seen foreclosures at 20 years. And if a bank,
Wow.
it's not good for them, they'll let it sit. And but it's not good for the neighborhood. And
Mhm.
people don't want their kids playing next door because the grass is knee high,
Mhm.
and it accumulates a lot of code enforcement fines. Well, those
Right.
code enforcement fines disappear,
Mm.
because if somebody's trying to buy the property, goes in foreclosure, then there's a legal aspect where those liens go away. So
Right. Right.
we're like spinning our wheels for no reason. So
Mhm.
it's our job to try to get the property into the hands of the private sector, maybe into the hands of a young family, or some a
Mm.
single mom, or somebody that's getting their starter house. So we try to do that,
Yes.
and but it's like a machine running. You just got to kind of keep it on the track. And
For
I tell
sure.
people, in the city of Melbourne, we have about 1,000 employees.
Mm.
Things go wrong sometimes, but
Yeah.
your job is that you have to try to correct it.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Wow. Well, you definitely came here and gave me so much insight, and you've blessed us with your presence, and I'm
Oh no,
so thankful for
I'm
that.
very honored to be here. I'm honored to serve, the residents of Melbourne, and
Mm.
it's something that, again, I'm a hometown kid here, and to serve as mayor in the city. I never thought I'd be mayor as a kid,
Wow.
and it's something, if you'd asked me when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't know what a mayor was, but
Wow.
it's something that I've had that opportunity, and wherever
Hmm.
life takes me, I'll be good.
I love that.
So.
So, before you leave here today, can you give us some advice for anyone that is looking for just some inspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, listen, always be true to yourself. And
Mm.
the first thing when I got elected to mayor, I always told myself I'd never change who I am. And if I was to give anybody advice, is don't change who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember
Yes.
when you were hungry. Remember when you were trying to help your neighbor. Remember that there's people out there that depend on you, and never lose sight of your focus. Remember your family.
Mm.
Remember your faith. Remember that God has a plan for you, and
Yes.
remember that. And if you do that and you stay true to yourself, you're gonna find out that you took the right path.
Yes. Wow, that was great. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Good.
Well, before we leave again, do you read books?
Sometimes.
So
Yeah.
give me like three of your top books that you recommend to others?
I think probably one of the best books, if you ever get a chance, it's from Anne Rule. It's
Mm.
called You Belong to Me. And if you
Wow.
ever get a chance, it's very, very intriguing, because it's a crime book, but it's
Mm.
about used to be years ago, there was like they called her the Copper Tone Girl, was on the uh, she was on like billboards,
Hmm.
but she was murdered here in Indian River on 95 by a state
What?
trooper. And they talked about how they found and caught him, and and if you read that, it's called You Belong to Me by Anne Rule, and you see some of the old pictures of Melbourne and Brevard, and the old sheriff, I think he was a prosecutor at the time, Williams. But if you read some of that, you see some of the old history, and you realize it kind of makes you, kind of see what Brevard was like years ago. And
Wow.
that's one of the probably the best books, I think. And like I said, it's called Anne Rule, You Belong to Me. Try to
Yeah,
pick it up.
I will.
You ever get a chance, you'll be like, wow, that happened here, and how The trooper was going through a divorce, and when he pulled her over, I think she reminded him of the wife, and he lost it. It was crazy.
I make movies, so I might have to make something out of that.
You need to.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, a lot of people are not aware that it happened here.
Yeah, that's so
it's
cool.
called
And we're
You Belong
here.
Here.
This
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah, and it happened right here off 95.
get out. I'm thankful I really asked you that question, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's probably one of my top books, and
Awesome.
so that's
That's
hopefully
great.
that's the answer.
So where can people contact you or find you if they want to get in contact with you or reach you or anything?
Yeah, I'm actually the most successful mayor you ever find. My cell phone number is on the city website,
Wow.
and people call me all hours of the night, and they call, and sometimes I get a lot of spam calls, and unfortunately I try to who's calling me? Is it a resident, or is it someone that wants to extend my car's warranty? So as long as I can have one phone, and if I can figure out who it is, it's good. But you
That's
can give me a
great.
call at any time.
Perfect. Well, I thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you, and I wish you the best.
Okay,
You're definitely going to make it. Paul Alfrey, everyone.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.